Deliberations began this afternoon at the corruption trial of New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez. Former New York federal prosecutor Neama Rahmani is joining us on Drive Time. Always good to talk to you. Thank you for joining us again. Do you think the evidence in the prosecution were convincing enough here?
I do, Michael, but you never know. Senator Menendez has beat corruption charges once before. And in that case, the earlier case there in Florida, it was a hung jury. So obviously the jury just started deliberating today. It's only been a day or so. The longer deliberations proceed, the better it is for the senator.
The prosecution had the jurors touch and feel the gold bars Menendez allegedly accepted as bribes. I'm curious, as a former prosecutor, is that a powerful tool, the ability to put evidence in jurors' hands like that?
It really is. And jurors like to touch and feel, in addition to seeing the evidence. You know, when I would prosecute narcotics cases, for instance, I would have them potentially hold the drugs or the bundles of cash. So they really understand what the nature of the charges are. And when you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash and gold bars in your closet, that's the strongest evidence in this case against the senator.
Now, the senator's lawyers argue Menendez always has a lot of cash on hand because his family came here from Cuba with nothing back in the 50s, and it's always been in that way in his family to have a lot of cash around. What did you make of that argument by the defense?
That's an argument, not necessarily the best one. And the senator's sister testified that because of their upbringing in communist Cuba, they had this scarcity mindset, this fear, and that's why they didn't deposit the cash in a bank like someone typically would. I didn't buy it, but this is something that the defense has been arguing the whole time. In fact, they tried to get an expert in to say the same thing, but the judge didn't allow it.
One of the three businessmen accused of offering the bribes to Menendez testified against the senator. How key was that testimony?
Very key. You're talking about Jose Uribe. Anytime you have a co-defendant, someone that's involved in the case who is testifying on behalf of the prosecution, that helps. Of course, the defense is arguing that he's a rat, just trying to save himself and doing everything he can, including lie, to get a lesser or no sentence. But I thought it was powerful. Again, you have someone that was actively involved in the fraudulent scheme and the bribery testifying on behalf of the state.
So jury deliberations are underway. This trial's been going on for 9 weeks. There's a lot of testimony and text messages and emails and financial records for the jury to go over. As a prosecutor, Neama, do you get concerned that the jury may be burned out after a trial that long with all that material? Could that impact the verdict?
It can. And originally the trial was scheduled for 6 weeks. Obviously, it went a lot longer than anticipated. And I think my biggest concern in the case is connecting everything to the senator directly. I think there's a lot of evidence implicating his wife, Nadine. She, of course, has breast cancer. Her trial was delayed. The senator successfully had the cases severed. But I wish there was a little bit more connecting Nadine's associates directly to the senator. I think if there's a potential issue in the case, it's that finger pointing to his wife.
His wife, Nadine Menendez, has had some health problems, so her trial has been delayed for a few more weeks. We were told before the senator's trial got underway that the senator's team would be pinning a lot of this on Nadine Menendez. Did they do that during the trial?
They did. The two defense arguments were as follows: that this was just legislative work and acting as a senator or representative should on behalf of constituents. Again, that's the argument that really saved the day in the senator's last corruption trial. So there was some of that. And there was, of course, the finger pointing saying Nadine had the financial problems. Nadine had the direct connections with some of these folks from the Middle East because of her background. The senator didn't really know what she was doing.
Should there be a conviction here for Senator Menendez and a likely appeal, do you see any holes in the prosecution's case they may have left, or was this pretty airtight?
No, I think the prosecution did as good of a job as they could with the evidence that they had. Obviously, you would have liked, if you're a prosecutor, to prosecute Menendez and his wife at the same time, dirty them up. You know, I understand why the judge granted the severance motion, because there are these inconsistent defenses. But I think ultimately, if the U.S. Attorney's Office is able to secure a guilty verdict, I do believe it will hold up on appeal, because really you're talking about a question of fact for the jury. What did the senator know, and was he an active participant in this fraud scheme, this bribery scheme, or just a passive observer or someone that really didn't know what was going on?
Former New York federal prosecutor Neama Rahmani, always good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, as always.
5:48 at WCBS on Drive Time.